All right, welcome back to the course. A couple more things we need to add into this application before we can finish up with core data is we need to actually display this correct text inside of here, and then we need to learn how to actually update that text when we type something new, okay? So let's go ahead and get started by going into our application and creating a variable inside of our note detail controller that can take this data in, okay? So it's gonna be the same exact data that the cell is provided, right? So if we go into notecell.swift and we copy this note data, we can head back into the note detail controller and paste it in here and basically set it the same exact way, okay? So we're gonna say textView.text is equal to note data.title. Okay, let's see what else we need. That should be about it. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. And let's also use the date. We also need to use the date, right? So let's get rid of that and let's set the date label to that text, right? So everything's good. We really just had to delete something and rename this to text view. Okay, so now all we need to do is we need to set the text, set the note data from wherever we're pushing this controller, right? Which is within folder notes controller, okay? In did select row. So go to did select row at index path, and let's go ahead and say note detail controller dot note data is equal to, and we'll say note data. And let's declare this note data by saying let note for row or note data, just wanted to let you know that that's the same thing, is equal to self.filtered notes at indexPath.row. So we could just straight up copy these two lines from our self or row at and paste them right here and switch the logic. And I'm doing this just to show you how similar it is, okay? So the logic really is the same. We just need to switch the variable name. So we'll say note detail controller dot note data is note for row. That's really all there is to it, okay? So let's go ahead and recompile our application and give this a shot and see what we have. And then we will go from there, all right? All right, I'm gonna select social media. You'll see hey there. I'm gonna select hey there, and you'll see our text view is getting the correct text and our date label is getting the correct date, okay? Now, there's one problem with this, and it's that this isn't formatted exactly the way we want it. So in the next section, after this section, there's still gonna be content in this section, but at the next section, I'm gonna have updates, and that will be one of the lectures showing you how to format the date correctly. But right now, we just wanna talk more about core data, okay? All right, so that's setting, and we have this text in here. Let's go ahead and change it and go back and see if it saves. All right, so it didn't save. So let's go ahead and let's figure out how we can save it. So the only time our note detail controller has note data is when we did select row, right? When we select one of the rows, right? When we select a row. When we create a new note, it doesn't have the data because wherever we're creating a new note, here in create new note, we are pushing a view controller and we aren't setting it, okay? So we can use that as a conditional to see if we're creating a new note or editing a note, right? So if it has data, or it has the delegate, right? Or it doesn't have the delegate. If it has the data, that means it is an editing one, right? So let's go into the note detail controller and let's go to our view will disappear, right? We only want to save this if there's no note data, because when we push it, remember, we don't have note data. So what I'm going to do is cut that and say if not self.note data, then we will push it, okay? Now, what I want you to do is go back here. Okay, let's see. Let's say if self.note data is equal to nil, and let's do a double equal sign for that conditional. So if it's nil, we will save it, right? Now let me just explain this logic one more time just so you understand. So in our table view did select row at inside of our folder notes, whenever we click it, it's gonna set the note data, right? So if we click it, it's like, okay, it's editing, right? Because there's note data. If we click this, however, at the bottom right, the note data is not set in create new note. So when we go back, when we click this back button, it's gonna hit this conditional and say, okay, well, there's no note data, so let's save a new note. But if there's not, then like if there is note data, then it knows we're editing it, right? So we need to update our node in here. And we're going to do this by creating a core data function to update our node. So let's go ahead and write that right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say core data manager dot shared dot save. Let's say, save updated note. This will take in the note and the new text as a string. So we'll say new text. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to declare the new text by saying let new text is equal to text_view.text. And the note that's going to be going through into here is just going to be self.note, okay? All right. So we're saying self.note data because we want to update that note data, right? All right, so we're good there. We just need to write this method now. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to head over to core data manager. I'm going to go to the bottom and I'm going to say func save updated note. This is going to be a string. And this will be a note. Now what we'll do is we will write some code in here. We'll say let context, like always, is equal to persistent container.view context. Note.title is equal to new text, and note.textView or text is equal to new text. And then we'll just update the date by saying note.date is equal to date. That's one thing I found really enjoyable about writing this app is the updating of dates is super simple because all you have to do is create a new date because it's right then, right? Super simple logic that has a lot of effect in an app, right? All right, so we'll try to save it now. We'll say do try context save, which you should have a lot of experience with now and understand pretty well, this do catch here. And we'll say print error saving updating, let's say error saving / updating note, and then we'll just print the error. Okay, so we're good there and we should be good. Let's go ahead and compile this and give it a shot. We shouldn't get an error, but maybe we wrote our method incorrectly. So let's go back. Okay, new text is just saying that it's optional. So we can hit fix and provide a default value. Or what we can do is we can guard unwrap it. So we can say guard let new text is equal to self.textView.text else return, okay? So all that's doing is saying, okay, if there's no text, then we'll return, okay? And well, if it's nil, like if it's empty, if there's no text, it's still gonna pass because it's just gonna be an empty string. So this will pass, okay? But yeah, all right. Let's go ahead and go into social media. Let's go into one of these notes. Second one is good. And I'm just gonna say updating this note. And I'm just gonna go back. And it didn't look like it updated, right? But when we click on it, it's updated. Let's go ahead and kill the app and go back in and see if it's updated. Notes iOS app, social media, and you'll see it updated, okay? So we need to refresh our table view regardless, right? We need to refresh our table view with the new data, okay? And the way we can do this is actually really simple. Let's head over into our folder notes controller where we need to reload the data. And let's go to our view will appear method. And at the bottom here, let's just say table view dot reload data. And let's recompile our application. All right, let's go in here. Let's update our text. Let's go back and you'll see it updates. All right, so I'll go in here, I'll update it and it updates. I'm also going to write another note and say new note, and I'm gonna go back and you'll see it's there. All right, so that's it for core data in this section. Let's go ahead and hop into the next section where we are going to make little fixes to our app and talk about the outlook of this course and future updates. I'll see you in just a second.